Back in 2013, a prince left his kingdom to conquer the world. And with that, he would come back as a king. Over a decade has gone by, and we are back where it all started. He failed to conquer the world, and it's fair to say that Neymar is the prince that has yet to become a king. So far, because he still has time. Now look, that's not to say his career was a failure. Far from that. He had a tremendous career, a very good career. Many even say that he's the biggest what if in soccer history. And I don't agree with that either. And I also think that Neymar still has a lot left in his tank. So Neymar haters, buckle up, get comfortable, but not too comfortable, because it's going to be a very bumpy ride. Hello. If you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Chapéu Football. And today, we're going to be talking about Neymar, or shall I say, Neymar. Very often we see many implying that, he never lived up to what was expected from him. And to a certain extent, that is true. Kinda, sorta, but not really at the same time. Today we're going to be talking about all of that in a non-biased and rational way. Looking at his stats, accomplishments, what is missing in Neymar's career, his rise, his fall, and again, I hope to see him rise again. And if you're new here, welcome to Chapéu Football. We provide the best coverage of Brazilian soccer or Brazilian football in English here on YouTube. As of now, we're only uploading once a month, but we're going to ramp it up later this year, in the year of 2025 on YouTube. So if you enjoy our content, drop a like. It helps us a lot. Help us hit 1,000 likes in this video. Share this video with your mom, dog, cat, or someone you hate. And subscribe to the channel. But do whatever you want. I mean, I'm not in charge of you. I'm not your dad. I'm not your mom. So do whatever you want. And Brazilians, don't worry. Eventually, we're going to dub our videos in Portuguese. Not now, but in the near future. Now listen, I have a question for you. Where do you rank Neymar with the all-time greats of Brazil? Is he ahead of Kaká, Rivaldo, Ronaldinho? Let me know in the comment section down below. Who are your top 5 Brazilian players of all time? And Pelé better be number 1. And at the very end of this video, I will give you my ranking of my top 10 best Brazilian players of all time. Okay? Let's begin. Okay, so before we go back to the past, we must talk about what's happening right now in the present. So Neymar terminated his contract with Al Hilal earlier than expected. In the process, he gave up roughly $10 million, which is around 15% of the $65 million that they still owed him. He terminated the contract roughly 6 months prior to its end date. Now, Neymar did that in order to become a free agent and sign with Santos. Now, at the time of this recording, the reports are that he is signing with Santos or has already signed with Santos for 6 months. His contract expires June 30th. Then, from there, he will decide if he's going to stay with Santos till the 2026 World Cup or head back to Europe. Now, that depends a lot on how healthy he is over the next 6 months and how he's performing for Santos in Brazil. Neymar also had a very lucrative offer from the Chicago Fire, which he rejected, and I don't blame him. I mean, he was going to get coached by Greg Berhalter. Can you blame him? And what's funny about this is he was willing to take money from Saudi Arabia, but not get coached by Greg Berhalter. And apparently the Chicago Fire offer would be a lot more money for Neymar than the Santos offer, and he still decided to go back home. Now, jokes aside, choosing Santos over the Chicago Fire was most certainly the right decision, and for once in his career, Neymar made a good decision. He promised to return to Santos when he left in 2013, and that promise has been fulfilled. He comes back to Santos on a big low, almost an all-time low, or shall I say, Santos is recovering from an all-time low. 2 years ago, they got relegated to the second division of the Brazilian league for the first time in their history. Now, they are back in the first division and they made multiple signings, so they should be fine, including Neymar. So Neymar comes back home where he can be happy, enjoy what he does, be himself once again. And hopefully we get the best version of him sooner rather than later, because God knows how much the Brazilian national team, the Seleção Brasileira, needs him. On top of that, there have been some very strong rumors that Saudi Arabia, with Neymar's dad and Neymar, they would be willing to buy Santos under that new law that we talked about in a previous video, the SEAF, the SAFI. Okay, so if you want to know what the SAFI is, go check out our previous video where we talk about the Brasileirão, the Brazilian League, and the Premier League. But don't be surprised if in the near future, Neymar is one of the owners of Santos. I think it's most likely to happen. I mean, it kind of makes sense if you think about it, right? If you can't become king by, actually becoming king, just by the kingdom. The Santos Neymar era 2.0 is still to be determined. The future is wide open, and ultimately, the 2026 World Cup is what's in Neymar's mind right now. But the past is the past. It's said and done. So why don't we do that? Why don't we dive into Neymar's past, look into his accomplishments, to try to understand why do some people see him as a failure? Why do some people see Neymar as a guy that is a what if and not a generational talent, which is what he actually is? It's crazy because I've seen countless soccer fans or football fans across the world saying Neymar has underachieved, and we're going to talk about his career right now. It's complete and utter nonsense. Okay, so let's talk about what he accomplished for the clubs that he played for, and then we'll talk about the national team. From 2009 to 2013, Neymar led one of the most successful Santos teams of all time, only behind Pelé Santos. Alongside Paulo Henrique Ganso, they managed to win the Copa Libertadores in 2011, something Santos hadn't done since 1962 with Pelé. He also managed to lead Santos to 3 São Paulo state championships in a row in 2010, 2011, and 2012, along with the Brazilian Cup trophy in 2010. And Neymar was super young back then. According to Transfermarkt, Neymar left Santos in 2013 with 136 goals scored and 64 assists in just 225 games played. He averaged 1 goal contribution every 90 minutes. And that led to a move to Barcelona, where he formed one of the most deadly trios in this sport's history. One of the most deadly trios anyone has ever seen, known as MSN. Messi, Suarez, and Neymar. Seriously, if you were old enough at that time to watch that team, watching Neymar, Messi, and Suarez play together, it was honestly a blessing. During his time with Barcelona, Neymar scored 105 goals and got 76 assists in 186 games played. Again, averaging roughly 1 goal contribution for every 90 minutes played. With Barcelona, he won La Liga twice, the Copa del Rey 3 times, and of course, the UEFA Champions League in the 2014-2015 season, where Neymar was simply unstoppable. He was tremendous for Barcelona from the quarterfinals beyond, getting a goal contribution every single game. He scored 7 goals in those last 5 games. Then, Neymar went to PSG. A pretty dumb transfer if you ask me. I mean, besides the money aspect of it, of course. But, I don't feel like diving into those details because money is not really relevant for this video. And listen, if you say that Neymar going to PSG was the dumbest decision he could have made for his career, you have a strong case in your favor. And I actually don't disagree with you. I think you're right. He probably should have stayed with Barcelona. However, I'm going to say this. The best football that I've ever seen Neymar play in his career was during the years that he played for PSG. For PSG, Neymar scored 118 goals and got 77 assists in 173 games. He was averaging a goal every 75 minutes, a goal contribution, every 75 minutes. And of course, some of that is inflated due to the lack of quality in Ligue 1 when compared to La Liga. Now, in terms of trophies, he won Ligue 1 5 times and the French Cup 3 times, which, to be honest, all of that is kind of not really relevant for his legacy. But in the 2019-2020 season, he did manage to lead PSG to a Champions League final in a very tough one-leg knockout round series because of the COVID pandemic, and his performances were incredible. He was huge. And then PSG lost to Bayern in the final, which that would have been a Champions League trophy for Neymar as the main guy, which with Barcelona, Messi was the main guy. Now, isn't it crazy how one game, one goal, they lost to Bayern 1-0. That one game changes a lot the perspective of how people see one player. There was no Ballon d'Or that year, so even if PSG had won the Champions League, Neymar would not have won the Ballon d'Or, but he would have been seen as the best player in the world if they won the Champions League right there. It's crazy. One game can change the entire legacy of a player. And I mean, I could give multiple examples of that, but I'm talking about Neymar specifically in this video. And understand that Champions League final game, it could have gone either way. And unfortunately for Neymar, it went the other way. So he never won a Champions League as the man. That is true. And honestly, that ship has sailed in my opinion. I don't think he'll be able to lead a team to win the Champions League anymore. He could go back to Europe and win the Champions League. I just don't think he'll be the main guy of the team. But what if I told you that R9, Ronaldo Phenomenon, he never won a Champions League. and he's still seen as one of the most accomplished Brazilian players of all time. So we can give Neymar a pass there. But of course, Ronaldo also won the World Cup. Which, by the way, to me, Ronaldo, he's the greatest center forward of all time. Not Cristiano Ronaldo, Ronaldo R9. And I'll tell you one thing, some of you might not agree with this. I actually think Ronaldo is the best Ronaldo of all time. You know, R9, not Cristiano. Now, I won't be talking about Neymar's time with Al Hilal because it was honestly irrelevant for his career, besides the fact that he made a buttload of money while barely playing. He made millions and millions of dollars and he played 7 games. Good for him. Good for him. With that said, let's talk about his national team career, because that's what Neymar's career has always been about. National team. Okay, the legendary Seleção Brasileira. And listen, this is what Neymar's career is all about. He loves playing for Brazil, and it shows. This is where he truly cares. Now, at the time of this recording, for Brazil, he has 128 games, which is the second most of all time. He's only 14 games behind Cafu. And in terms of goals, he has 79 goals, which makes him the top goal scorer of all time for the Brazilian national team. He also has the most assists for the national team than any other player with 59 assists. And keep in mind, those numbers are going to go up. Very likely Neymar will surpass Cafu and be the player that has played the most for the Brazilian national team. But this is crazy. He is the top goal scorer and the top assister for the Brazilian national team. Let that sink, right? Before everyone says he underachieved, he's not good enough. Top goal scorer and the most assists. He also won the 2013 Confederations Cup with Brazil in Brazil, and in 2016 he led Brazil to their first gold medal in the men's Olympic soccer while hosting the games in Rio de Janeiro. Which I know that soccer in the Olympics, people don't really care about it, but it was a big deal for Brazil at the time. It was the only tournament that the Seleção had never won. We never had a gold medal, and Neymar was able to lead them to glory. Players like Rivaldo, Roberto Carlos, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho all failed to bring the gold medal back home, but Neymar did not. Now sure, Neymar never won the Copa America with Brazil, it's true. Brazil actually won it in 2019 without Neymar, but in his defense, the 2021 final against Argentina in the Copa America, he put one of the most incredible, outstanding performances I have ever seen a player play in a final. I've never seen something like that, but the team let him down. De Paul and Emi Martinez have even spoken in interviews about how Argentina could only stop Neymar in that game by consistently beating the living crap out of him. Neymar never really let the national team down. The national team has let Neymar down in multiple occasions. Then of course, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the World Cup. Neymar played in the 2014, 2018, and 2022 World Cup. He never really played past the quarterfinals. Back in 2014, he got injured after helping Brazil advance to the semifinals, where they lost 7-1 to Germany without Neymar. In 2018 and 2022, Neymar was sent home in the quarterfinals with Brazil, and I'm not here to make excuses for him, but I thought he played very well in every single World Cup that he was there, right? Every World Cup that he played. The help just wasn't there. I mean, Neymar has 13 World Cup games right now at the time of this recording, with 8 goals and 4 assists and multiple good performances. For context, Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the best players in the history of the game, has 22 World Cup games with only 8 goals, which is the same amount of Neymar, but almost 10 games more than Neymar, and only 2 assists, which is half of what Neymar has. So with all of those accomplishments, records for the national team, trophies, how can any stupid, idiotic thing say that Neymar underachieved and he's a big what if? This is a generational talent with an incredible career. I think when you look into Neymar's career, it's tremendous, but it does feel incomplete at times. Let's be real. Messi's career felt incomplete till 2021. It wasn't until he won the Copa America and World Cup with Argentina that the perception changed. Not about Messi being one of the best players of all time, if not the best player of all time, but just the perception surrounding him until he won the international trophy with Argentina in 2021, the Copa America, and the World Cup in 2022. And for that, when we talk about Neymar, it's very important for us to go back to all the expectations that were set for him before he took off in his career. So let's talk about that, the expectations. The reason many people call him a big what if is because his career feels incomplete, or they have this false sense that he never really reached his true potential because of these original expectations of what he had to accomplish in his career. So let's talk about that in a very rational way. Even though asking football fans to be rational is the equivalent of asking a politician not to steal your lunch. They'll do it anyway. Football fans are meant to be irrational. We're delusional and reactionary. Neymar came to scene after a very successful Brazil generation that was coming to an end. Brazil did very well in the 90s and most of the 2000s, winning 2 World Cups, making it to a final in 1998 and losing to France, winning the Confederations Cup 3 times, winning the Copa America. My point was, those 2 decades were great, along with multiple Ballon d'Or winners such as Ronaldo, Rivaldo, Ronaldinho, and Kaká. Now Neymar shows up with one of the weakest generations Brazil has ever had, and the expectations among fans and the media are pretty much the same as always. That he has to win the Ballon d'Or, he has to win the World Cup, regardless of who's playing next to him. Again, soccer media, soccer fans, being rational ain't really their thing. But okay, let's talk about the club expectations here for a second. He had to win a lot with Santos, the Libertadores, domestic trophies, which he did. Then he had to move to Europe, win the Champions League, which he did, have a successful career abroad, which he did, and eventually win at least 1 Ballon d'Or, which he did not. Now with the national team, it's actually very straightforward. He has to win the World Cup. Failure to do so would make him just another Zico, a Brazilian legend that Flamengo fans love to this day, an incredible player, one of the best Brazilian players of all time, and he's talked a lot about with Flamengo fans, but many have forgotten he even exists outside of Brazil. My point is, ultimately, as a Brazilian player, you are judged on whether or not you won the World Cup. I know it may not sound fair, but it's true. Neymar was supposed to be the Pelé of this Brazilian generation. There was even a Time magazine calling him the next Pelé, but let's be real. Pelé had much better players surrounding him. To me, Pelé is the best ever. But again, this sport is a team sport. So Pelé, Neymar, Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, they can only do so much if their team ain't great. So those were the expectations, and if you've noticed, when I mentioned them, Neymar accomplished most of everything. There's only 2 things missing, the World Cup and the Ballon d'Or. And Neymar didn't get any of that due to a couple factors, and the context matters. It was a little bit of bad luck, and just having shit players surrounding him. But let's talk about that context. I think it's very important to talk about that before we close this video. And if you made it this far, don't forget to drop a like if you haven't already, and subscribe to the channel if you want to, of course. Okay, look, it's been established how well accomplished Neymar has been in his career. His career is actually quite incredible. But the problem is, he was supposed to be the new king of Brazilian football. And with that came the insanely harsh expectations and a mix of bad luck. Yes, every all-time great had a tiny bit of luck in their favor. I swear, all Neymar needs is 1 World Cup, and the entire narrative surrounding him would change. That's all due to the fact that he's Brazilian. So the standard, the expectation, is to win the World Cup. And winning a World Cup would probably be 2 birds with 1 stone, because if Brazil wins the World Cup, I would say Neymar has a very high odd of winning the Ballon d'Or. But let me explain when I say that he wasn't as lucky as previous Brazilians were, not just from a team's perspective, but as an individual. In 2015 and 2017, Neymar finished 3rd for the Ballon d'Or, behind Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. If Neymar was not playing during the Messi-Ronaldo era, he would have won a Ballon d'Or or 2, but he was unlucky to play in an era with those 2 freaks. I mean, look at it this way. The time that freaking Michael Owen and Pavel Nedved won Ballon d'Ors. And if you look at the seasons that they won, Neymar had at least 3 to 4 seasons, maybe more, that were far better than that. And Neymar in his prime, or even before his prime, he's better than those players than they ever been. And when you look at other Brazilian players of when they won the Ballon d'Or, if they were playing in the Messi-Ronaldo era, I don't know if they would have won it. You gotta remember, Messi and Ronaldo are 2 freaks, and Neymar had to deal with them for the entire decade. Okay, but as I said, ultimately, it all comes down to winning the World Cup. And 2026 is Neymar's last shot, his last dance. And I actually think Brazil can and probably will win the 2026 World Cup, but we're gonna talk about that in a separate video. Trust me, I really think Brazil will win the World Cup, and I'm not crazy, I'm usually right, and I think I will be right about it. For the prince to become king, he must conquer the world by winning the World Cup, and he returned back home to Santos, to his kingdom, where it all started. The only way Neymar will be remembered as a generational talent and, that fulfilled his potential is if he wins the 2026 World Cup in the United States of America. Otherwise, he's just going to be another Zico, a generational talent that is not talked about as much decades later, or at least not as much as he deserves. But again, we have to also try to be rational here. All these all-time greats like Ronaldinho, Ronaldo, Rivaldo, for example, in 2002, all three of them had each other. These three players, they're about the same level as Neymar. They were in the same team. So imagine if Neymar had three Neymars in the Brazilian national team. Do you think he would have won a World Cup by now? Most likely. And the same with Pelé, right? He had so many world-class players at that time in the 60s that played for him, right? Or played with him. The only one that I think kind of carried Brazil was Romário, but he had a very good supporting cast surrounding him in 1994. Neymar had a good supporting cast in 2022, but they still let him down. We'll see how it goes in 2026. As long as Neymar is healthy and Brazil has all their players and a good coach, I don't think Dorival is a good coach, but we'll talk about that in a separate video. I think Brazil could win the 2026 World Cup. And that is what will save Neymar's legacy. Okay, now that we debunked the nonsense that Neymar is a flop or that he underachieved, I'm gonna give you my top 10 Brazilian players of all time, as I promised you earlier in the video. And you are gonna drop a like in this video and subscribe as you promised me earlier in the video. Now, I'm not gonna explain my picks, to be honest, because I don't feel like doing it, so let's just go through the ranking very quickly. So to me, the best Brazilian player of all time is Pelé, the king of football. The second one is Ronaldo Phenomenon, R9, the best center forward of all time. Number 3 is Neymar, two-footed, more direct than Ronaldinho. I truly believe that Neymar in his prime was better than prime Ronaldinho. Now, number 4 to me is Ronaldinho. Number 5 is Zico, the Flamengo legend that deserves a lot more respect than he gets. Number 6 to me is one of the best left backs of all time, Roberto Carlos. Number 7 to me is Rivaldo, won a Ballon d'Or, was incredible in the 2002 World Cup. Number 8 is Romário, o Baixinho, one of the best center forwards of all time as well. A big factor in the 94 World Cup for Brazil to win it. Massive Barcelona player too. Number 9 is Garrincha, one of the best players in the 1958 World Cup, if not the best. He played a massive role in helping Pelé win that World Cup. And number 10 to me is Kaká, the Milan legend. Alright everyone, I want to thank you all very much for watching. Next month we will probably have a video about Brazil and Argentina because they do play in World Cup qualifying. And with that said, don't forget to subscribe to Chapéu Football. Drop a comment with your top 10 Brazilian players of all time, your ranking. And I want to thank you all very much for watching and have a great day.